Thank you. Recording.
Okay, the variance recommendations to zoning board of review, Stony Brook Lane, Plat
Is-
17, lot 67.
Is Erasmo on? I don't see the applicant. No? Why don't we, I don't see them here. Why don't we move to the next one? I'll try to get a hold of them.
Okay. Petition for zoning map amendment, Plat 14, lots 19B, 19B-1. Proposed to change zoning designation from general business mixed use to general business mixed use to municipal, which that would be the piece of property that's on 94 and Route 6, where I believe the fire station has received that as a gift. And they are trying to go through the hoops so that they can allow the police station to build there. Am I correct with that, Gordy? You got on mute, Gordy. There you go.
Okay. Yes, you are correct.
Okay. So to me, it's pretty simple. The pleasure of the board.
Well, can you I think we should have the applicant at least just give a brief description.
Okay, Gordy, floor is yours.
Okay, I can do that. Well, I think as all of you know that the Valentine's donated the property, the vacant lot, which I believe is 19B, to the fire department. And the agreement was that we would never use it commercially. It would stay as a municipal lot for a police station, further expansion of the fire department controlled and run activities such as training. So I think the fire station should have already been zoned municipality, but it was not. And I think to build a police station in the future on that lot, we need to change the zoning of the lot. And I believe it's the 19B. It's pretty simple. I mean, we can't use it as business anymore. It'll never be general business again, but it will be municipality. So I think our request is the only way to go with this.
And the fire station is located right in that same vicinity, correct?
Yes, they were one lot at one time. We broke the fire station away back in 1990. And I was on the understanding at that time that it was changed in municipality. I just found out recently that it was not.
But so it would be consistent with the use.
Yes.
General area.
Right.
What happened now? What happened now? Jesus.
Hey, Gordy, where would the police station be? With that, where would it be? I'm just curious.
So everybody's probably looking at the same map I am. It would be in the bottom left corner, exactly where the restaurant was. We'd use the same well, the same septic system. Obviously not the same foundation, but if you stop there and you could see the layout of the old foundation, the sidewalk still there, that'd be exactly where the police station would be.
Okay.
We'd like to leave the rest of the corner grass. And maybe
it would leave quite a bit of open area right there.
Yeah, maybe we could later in time do a farmer's market or something over on that grass, or
Perfect.
something town oriented, help the town out.
Sounds like a great idea to me.
Well, I think it is. That's why I'm here.
You know, I think it's
You know, when this was being considered for the police station and other things a long time ago, when the Valentine first brought it to us, it was also thought that the town libraries would consolidate and build a building there. I'm sure Gordy remembers that.
Very well. I was involved with that.
Yep.
Yeah. The difference then was he was also going to have some commercial space.
Right.
And now that won't happen.
No.
You know, we want to make sure we leave enough room for the fire department and the police station to expand in the future.
quick question, I thought there was a stormwater retention basin or detention basin in that east half of the site.
There is not. There's nothing there. It's flat.
Huh.
Yeah. There was a very large hole there at one time. It was a gravel bank, and that has been filled in over the
Oh,
years.
okay.
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yes, sir.
Anthony,
Ron?
Just, I'm not against this at all, but in dealing with planning in this community, right now, you have the council negotiating with Gordy for this great idea. You have the library negotiating with Foster Feed to put the library there. You have the council buying the land across the street, that if you bought the land across the street from the townhouse, the next to the Eddy building at 14 acres, we're trying to do this right. Years ago, I proposed we buy this for $1 million. We wouldn't have a ball field in one place. We wouldn't have a ball field in another place. We wouldn't have this negotiation going on, which is good. And we wouldn't have the library wandering around. There's a real breakdown between the council, this planning board, and the numerous entities that are quasi-public. So go ahead with this, but overall, the council, basically, there are three things going on here. Why are you buying, and I was the first to speak to do it, why are you buying the land across the street if you're putting everything every place else? So just a comment on planning, that the planning board should know what the council's doing, and the council should be talking to the planning board. Thank you for hearing me out.
You're welcome, Ron. Okay, any other discussion?
I
Mike?
Mike has his hand up.
Yeah. Gordy, as long as you're here, can you go back to the initial offer that the Valentines made?
To who? The fire department?
No, to the land trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not in on that. Pretty much they made the same offer to the land trust that they made to the fire department. And the land trust, for some reason, bylaws, what they could accept, they could not accept this property. I do not know why, but that was the first avenue that the Valentines took.
Well, the land trust, I was at that meeting, and that was a year ago. And the land trust didn't have the resources or the expertise to project manage what the Valentines intended, which was to acquire property and develop it for a police station or municipal use. The reality here is that and it kind of goes to what Ron says. I'll just like to touch on a few things that have happened that make this a very contentious decision, not because of the fact that it went to Gordy, because the land trust did hint that Mr. Brayton is a very trustworthy individual and he might be able to acquire that property. The reason for all this, for all the new members and everybody tuned in here, is the fact that Mike Valentine did not want to give that property to the town. He had no confidence. He expressed that very clearly to the land trust, and I think he expressed it very clearly to Gordon. And we have to now think about the fact that we are about to consider a zoning change from general business mixed use to municipal, when in fact, as Ron pointed out, there's more than enough municipal property at hand to house a police station.
We're
Perhaps,
we're getting a little bit off.
no, we're not. We are specifically addressing what's on the agenda.
I'm gonna like,
It's
cancel out
very,
and I'm not even on the screen. I can't see anything.
I can see you, Anthony.
Yeah, I lost everybody. I'm gonna bow out and come back in. Keep the fight on. Give me 1 minute.
All right.
it's just very, very important that we look at root cause here. The reason that we are looking to build a new police station is because the one that is on municipal property does not meet the requirements needed to sustain funding for our police department.
I believe that we are getting a bit off topic.
I don't think we are. I think we have a decision to make. We have to decide why we would want to rezone this property municipal when we have fully functioning fire departments that are not on municipal property.
I think that you need to, when you are making your consideration, there is the fire department is on a portion of that property, and the fire department or their charitable trust owns it, and they do have the right, municipal fire department is appropriate use for municipal land.
I wouldn't dispute that at all. But the fact is that we had a committee established to study the alternatives for building a police station. And I don't think the council has approved of their findings. I don't think the council has budgeted for a new police station.
But the
If
question
they do,
has nothing to do.
if they do, they're going to have a referendum. This needs to go before the people in a referendum.
We are getting way off topic. We are not-
Joanna,
Once
Joanna,
the
this is
plan-
David.
Once there is a plan for a police station, perhaps mirroring the findings of the police station committee, then appropriately, they could ask for rezoning. But we don't have a plan. We can't tell the folks in town what we're gonna build. We don't have a budget to fund what we're gonna build. They need to know what the town is doing for their benefit. There's no way we can rezone or consider rezoning before there's a plan that clearly defines what the intention is that requires that rezoning. That, we may be
Mike.
right on the cusp of getting into spot zoning issues if we rezone before there's a plan to build.
Mike, I'd say you bring up some good points. But I would just, for tonight, you're making a recommendation to the town council for whether or not you would recommend approval or denial of a zone change for this parcel. So I think what Joanna was trying to redirect the conversation is the appropriateness of having a municipal zone in place of a GBM zone there, and the types of uses that could go in. And I know you were bringing everything, I know you're bringing a lot of context into it and a lot of history. And like I said, those are all good points. But tonight, just so other folks know, and so other maybe new board members can understand, you're making a recommendation to the town council based on consistency with the comprehensive plan and I think the zoning ordinance as well. But
General area.
yeah, just generally, whether or not you think it's, or the general ordinance, you think it's an appropriate, I don't want to say use, but the appropriate zone which can house those types of uses if you think that is an appropriate location. But Mike, with all due respect to everything good points for sure. But I'm just trying to bring us to that because that's what the board needs to make the decision on tonight.
The board can't make a decision on something that doesn't exist.
But
Do
so,
not
but
have a plan. We don't have a
Mike,
plan
Mike, we've done
approved by
this-
the council
Mike, we've
for a
done
new
this
police
before.
station.
In order to zone change, you do not have to have an actual plan of what is going to go on that property. When people come before us and want to change from a GBM to an AR, or AR to a GBM, they say, this is what we think we're going to do, but we are not positive. That is not a requirement that's needed for your recommendation to the town council, or for the change, frankly, for the town council to rule on it. It's just whether or not this would be an appropriate use in that area, is consistent with the comprehensive plan, et cetera. We do not require, and our ordinance and our charter does not require an actual plan of what's going to go on the property to be presented before a zone change can happen. I know
Can
in
I
this,
Can I ask Mike a question just for the history? Or, well, this is not just Mike, but in lieu of what you're saying, though, in terms of the Valentine's donation of the property, you said they specified that they didn't want to give the land to the town. They gave it to the South Foster Fire Department. So does changing the zoning to municipal fly in the face of their stipulations?
there's no stipulation on the deed. So the fire department owns it now. They can do whatever they'd like with it.
That's not true. I don't think we can address that.
Not on the deed.
Okay, it is not on the deed. We have a letter of agreement with Mr. Valentine of how the lot would be used. And the police station is mentioned in that to be, that we could use it to build a police station. Indeed, or however we see fit to rent, deed, whatever, a parcel of that land to the town to build a police station.
So that's like the only use that they accepted for.
Yes, that's the one stipulation he put in there, that we would, again, that we would not use it commercially, and he'd be okay with us doing something with the town to build a police station on the property.
Can I ask Gordy, is any other fire department located on municipal property?
No, it isn't. Most of the other three, the ambulance corps, the other two fire stations are pretty much on the property that the building occupies. It's not a large parcel of property.
I guess that was a no.
I can't say that. I know the ambulance corps might be, not sure about the valley and the center.
Yeah, Mike,
Can't-
I don't think they are. I think the only municipal zone we have is where the town hall is.
So
Yeah.
essentially accelerating forward to what potentially the balance of the property could be used for in terms of expanding police and fire. Now, if we approve a municipal zone, the police and fire would be expanding onto municipal property.
The police department, I believe, is currently on municipal property. And I will tell you that the police department, if the town council or whoever is going to try to cite it on that lot, they can't cite it on the lot as is, because you can't cite it you can't cite a police station on a GBM.
And just quickly before we move on, Warren, I think you're going to have to chair because I don't see Anthony. I don't know where he's gone. So,
Cyberspace.
and then I have Lynn Ryder with their virtual hand up.
Okay.
I was just, okay. Helen would remember this. When we were on that committee eons ago to rezone Route 6, and we changed some of the zoning to create nodes, general business mixed use. We didn't know specifically what was going to go on those parcels of property. We just wanted them zoned that way so that they would be available. So I'm not really seeing why we would need to have a plan in place to designate a piece of property municipal. My other question was, is the whole piece of property going to be municipal, or just the part that the police station perhaps will sit on?
Lynn, I just put up
Okay,
the proposed map zone change. And so on top, that's plat 1419B1. And then below, that's lot 19B. And so those are two separate lots, but they are together to be the new, proposed to be the new municipal zone.
and, okay, so that the fire company would end up be on municipal land.
Yeah. Or municipally zoned land.
Okay, that does not mean that the town now owns that land that they're sitting on.
Correct.
No, so they are still autonomous in that respect.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, that's my only question.
Okay, do we have a finding that we have enough information to make a recommendation to the town council on this application?
Joanna, point,
Yep.
or Mr. or Warren, point of order. Do we have a quorum with the chairman missing?
We have 5 members present.
Thank you.
May I speak, please?
Oh, here's Anthony.
The only person that can call for a point of order is the person that is on the board. And Joanna, you'll agree.
Sorry, Ron.
Ron, you are correct.
Thank you, Joanna. I did learn something in 30 years.
Anthony, you
Okay,
got
I'm
a couple?
back.
Here he is.
Okay, I yield back to Anthony.
What a computer illiterate. I hit the wrong button and I was in China somewhere. I have no idea what happened. I apologize. What did I miss?
Nothing. Anthony, may I?
Go ahead, Ron.
Listen, I don't want my comments to be misconstrued. What Gordy is asking for here with the Valentine's approval is to zone this municipal. The only buildings that can go on a municipal piece of property are municipal, the government's building. So bringing in, I could have brought in how Valentine got upset. I could have brought in the planning board. My comments were in general about planning and the council. But this is the proper thing to do with this piece of property for the future of this community and its government.
Thanks, Ron. We're still on this. We didn't approve it. It's a slam dunk.
No,
I mean, okay. Any other comments? Do I have a, what's the,
You'd make a motion to recommend
Yeah.
the changing the properties to municipal zone to the council.
I apologize. I'm so rattled from losing this and then finding it, like, do I have a motion to move this to the zoning board?
To the town council.
To the town council, I'm sorry. Our recommendation to the town council. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that the planning board, after reviewing the comprehensive plan consistency, makes a recommendation in favor of the application to change the plat and lot number so named to municipal from general business.
Have a second? Problems, George?
I'm still trying to understand or digest what Mike was saying.
Yeah, we need a second to continue discussion.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Thanks, Joanna. Can I have a second?
So I'll second it so we can continue the discussion.
Okay,
May I speak?
yes.
Thank you. Mike, maybe you can help me understand. The concern is that none of the other fire departments are on municipal land. We want to rezone this municipal with the intent of putting the fire department on there?
Okay, George, next door is the fire station.
No, I know where the fire station is.
Okay, that piece of property was donated to that fire station.
I understand that. I went to
Okay.
all the meetings
And they
stuff.
can't do anything with it, okay? They
Right.
can't do anything commercially with it. They can
I
do
understand.
anything that, okay.
No, I get that. I'm trying
Okay.
to see.
I'm gonna tell you what they're trying to do. They're gonna try to put the police station, okay, on that piece of property. Okay, versus putting it in the back of the DPW building next to the old town hall, so forth and so on.
I get it.
Okay, and that's what we're changing, that zoning, so that it can be municipal anything that wants to be put there. Okay, the fire station can expand, the police department can go there, and someday, I guess it would be a municipal building, correct me if I'm wrong, we could put a new town hall there if we wanted to. If the fire station allowed us, correct, Gordy? It would have to come from you guys first, correct? Okay, so
Mike,
that's where that is, George.
Anthony, thank you. Mike, what is the concern?
Just directed to me, George?
Yes, I'm directed. Yes, please.
The concern is that we have a town hall that needs to expand that can't use a second floor. We have a police station that the town has managed for decades. That is the root cause of the problem.
Great.
We have a DPW building that doesn't have facilities or accommodations to maintain its fleet. We have unfortunately, a government that's assigned numerous committees. Principally here, what's most important is a very distinguished committee, including Gordy, okay? Guys like that put together an excellent plan to develop a police station. They did not approve the plan, to the best of my knowledge. Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the council approved the plan of the committee that they assigned to study the police station construction. They haven't decided on what they want to build. They haven't funded it. And we're about to give them a request to change zoning in order to accomplish that. I am fearful of the fact that we are violating the spot zoning issue, okay? That we would be accommodating their desire to relocate or build a police station. None of these plans have been disclosed to the public. There's been no citizen input to this proposal because the proposal has never been accepted by the council and presented to them. The proposal for funding the police station has never been put before the citizens of Foster.
One second, Mike. So okay, let's put it this way. Forget the police department is there. You are absolutely right. They still don't know what they're doing with the police department, okay? You are absolutely correct. That piece of property now belongs to the fire station. If the fire station wants to expand on that piece of property, would they have to come to the town to get that zone municipal to expand their police station? Would that, am I correct there, or they can just expand onto that property without any zoning change? Anybody?
They can expand on that property without any zoning change, but having there, and the fire department is already on a piece of that property. So a fire department is an appropriate use for a municipally zoned lot, but a fire department can also be on a GBM.
Yeah, but you're wrong there. 1 second, Joanna. The fire department's on their own piece of property.
No, what it's on one of those two lots.
Is it, Gordon?
Right. Have the lots been merged?
No, and they're owned.
So
One is owned by the fire department and one is owned by the members of a charitable trust of the fire department. So it's not the same exact owner, so they don't need to be merged.
And I believe the fire department currently is in that parcel to the north of
Yes.
Correct.
the
Correct.
church.
Yeah,
Correct. So what you're telling me is that they can expand, they can go put another fire station on this piece of property without a zoning change.
Correct.
Is that what I'm understanding? Well, then, if that's a municipal building and it can go onto that property,
It's
why can't
quasi
it?
municipal because it's quasi municipal and you have to look at our zoning ordinance.
Okay, well then why couldn't the police department be put there as,
Zoning ordinance doesn't allow it. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
that's,
Zoning ordinance says a police department is prohibited on a GBM. So
Anthony, may I?
obviously the town would not expend monies on an engineer, on a site plan for a piece of property that they cannot build on.
I get that, but you're totally confusing the crap out of me.
Yeah.
They can put a police station on it, which is municipal, a fire station, which is municipal. We can't, because if the police station wants to do it, it's GBM. I don't get it.
Anthony, may I try and straighten this out?
If you can, Ron.
Listen, this is why nothing gets done in this town. I have great respect for Mike Carpenter. He was one of my most important people when I was on the board. This is not confusing. This is about taking a piece of property, all of it, and zoning it municipal for further growth of the government. The idea that we don't trust the fire station to do the right thing. We are wondering whether the library, the police station, any municipal piece of town government can go on a municipal property. You're planning for the future, all right? You're not reacting to the request at the moment. You're planning for the future by taking two pieces of property that are not connected and zoning the municipal for the future of the government of the town.
Hey.
All these other conversations are about nothing.
Anthony, the zoning table that I'm looking at right here, a
Go
fire
ahead.
station or ambulance barn is permitted as of right in an AR, an NC, a GBM, an MI, or a municipal. A
Okay.
state or
Okay.
federal government building of any kind, including the police department, is prohibited in an AR, is prohibited in an NC, needs a special use permit for a GBM.
Okay, so now you answered my question on how the fire department can put a building on there because it can do it in that zone without changing the zone. In order to put the police station there, we have to change the zone. And what you're saying, Mike, is we don't even know if this police station is going to go there and we're going to change the zone, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
But
putting
who
a fire
cares? You're
in the
planning
back,
for
right?
the future.
I agree. There is no future in this town, but I do understand what you're saying, Ron.
But I do think, and Mike Antonellis had said this before, what is going to go on the property, an actual specific plan is not relevant to whether or not you think it is appropriate to change the underlying zoning.
Correct. Correct. But what everybody else is saying is, what you're saying, Mike, we are going to change it, and then that just opens it up to any municipal building that wants to go there. But on the second part of that, is nothing else can happen in the town the way they donated it to the police department, to the fire station anyway. So it's really kind of like what Ron says. I mean, if the future plans are to do that, then I think so be it. But we have a motion and a second on that.
And Anthony, Lynn has her hand up if you want to
I
entertain. more
can't see your hand.
comments.
Lynn, unmute yourself, please.
Okay, I'm unmuted. My question is, the entire piece of property is not going to be used for the police station. How has the fire company divided that? What part are they going? I don't know. I guess that the town would then own what the police station sits on, plus a little bit more. How much of that lot will the town own?
Lynn, I think that's a good question for the town council public hearing,
Okay.
probably. We don't have that information here. I certainly don't.
What-
And then just quick, go, okay.
I'm sorry, just like, I think what I heard was that the trust, the fire department trust will still own that property. and that they would lease it for the police station? Because
I don't know, Gordy would know.
Gordy, yeah, can you
Well-
weigh in on that?
Can I back up a ways? I don't really think this is relevant, but I am very active on the police station committee. I put a lot of time into it. We looked at a lot of pieces of property, including property the town owns, the other side of Route 6 at 6 and 94. The ideal piece right along has been this piece that we're talking about now. The building has been designed. We've had public hearings. We've had many meetings where the public was invited. We pretty much, the committee pretty much is totally focused on putting the building on this property. The council, we cannot, under recommendation, and I think Joanna, you can vouch for this, we really can't go any further making any more plans until the land that we propose to use is zoned correctly. And that's why I am here tonight. Hillary, to answer your question, I think the intent at this point is the fire department will do like a 99-year, we will deed, sorry, I'm getting two things mixed up here. The fire department will deed enough of the property to the town to build the police station on. And the reason for this is instead of a lease, it's the liabilities. If we were to just lease it to the town, then the fire department will be liable. As I understand it, the town will be liable, and two different agencies will be paying a lot of money for insurance. There are ways of deeding this property that works. Other towns have done it. It's a pretty common thing, with the agreement that it will always be a police station.
Right, okay.
Perfect.
So
That's
I hope I cleared a few things up here, but that the police station committee has put a lot of time into this, and
How many years we been there now, Gordy?
3 years and about 6 pieces of property.
I had more here when we started that police station committee. I know that.
And, the ideal thing about this property is it's ready to go. There is no extensive amount of work that needs being done. The septic system's there, the well's there. It's ideal,
Thank you, Gordy.
if that helps at all.
That helps a lot.
Okay, so back again. We have a motion, a second. And can we have a roll call? All in favor?
Can I just ask who made the motion and who made the second?
It was Warren made the motion and Hillary seconded.
You're doing all the work tonight.
You don't want to know what the motion was, do you?
I'm just
It was in the affirmative to recommend.
what I know. Let's see, Mike Carpenter.
No,
Okay, Hillary,
Yes,
Warren,
Yes,
George,
Yes,
Anthony,
Yes.
and me too. So that would be 5-1
Okay,
in favor.
perfect. Moving forward.
And just so everybody knows, May 13th will be the public hearing at the town council for the zone change.
Okay.
Do we have, well, I think, Anthony, we should probably move on to Route 6 blight issues, just because we got Jeff on.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
That's what I was cringing. Jeff, you back there? Perfect. Okay, discussion on the blight issues on Route 6. Tonight we have Jeff who, I guess, I want to thank you for coming, Jeff, even though you're not the zoning official anymore. So I guess you can, I have some questions for you. You can answer them as a
Former
taxpayer.
zoning official?
What's that?
As the former zoning official?
No, he can answer as a couple of things. He can answer as a taxpayer and as a taxpayer in town, which you are, correct?
Yes.
And someone with expertise in
and somebody with
enforcement.
expertise in what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
You just moved to Forster, correct? You didn't live here before, did you?
Just been here a year.
Just been here a year. Okay.
Yep.
As a Forster taxpayer or as a zoning official, what are your thoughts about Route 6?
My thoughts are,
I would like to see more of it zoned commercial. And I guess relevant to what I understand this discussion is about is in terms of blight. I think we could use an ordinance, I mean, a state law rather, that currently I don't think is being used by the town. That's the state property maintenance code. When I came to the position in the town, the book didn't exist at the town, still doesn't. And I asked around about it, and it my understanding was it's never been used, but it is one of the state building codes mandated by the state, and so of course could be used in that method. The main purpose of that code book is blight and public safety and well-being.
When I started this campaign 3 town councils ago, we were going to try to have our own blight ordinance, and then searching around other towns on what they had for blight ordinance, so forth and so on. Someone thought they were a pretty smart guy, okay, without mentioning any names, Gordon, said that we should use the state book that you're mentioning, the code. So that's what we adopted, was the state's blight ordinance. So that's what we follow. That's what we've been talking about, using that book, those recommendations in that book. But nothing has seemed to happen. How would, with your expertise, how does this go about to clean up and so forth and so on Route 6?
So
the property to take.
Yeah, the property maintenance code was adopted by the state. It's an international code. It was adopted by the state, I think about 7, 8 years ago. Previous to that, a lot of towns did have their own ordinance. I worked in Providence at that time. Providence had its own housing ordinance. Once the state adopted this, and it's a mandated code for the state to use, Providence rewrote its ordinance, basically wiping out the majority of it and referencing the property maintenance code. One of the advantages to the property maintenance code is that it is relevant to both residential and non-residential property, and actually vacant property as well. So this code requires that properties be maintained in all facets, from chipping paint to broken windows, even down to weeds in the lawn. So it's a pretty specific code. It has a lot of teeth to it. So basically, you would cite people. One important aspect of using codes like this is proper procedure. So if it comes to court, you still win in court. So there's a process for it, but it's not difficult. So you just want to you would cite properties. You want to cite fairly and evenly. And if people don't comply, then you use the powers at your disposal, being both fines and or taking individuals to court for compliance.
So not a difficult procedure to violate someone and take them to court to conform to what they should do, correct?
Correct.
Where'd you go? Everybody's changing. Oh, here you are on this side now. Okay. Abandoned buildings. How is that handled?
It's in the property maintenance code that they must be maintained. So they have to be safe, secure, and maintained. And by maintained, it goes down to painting, falling off trim. The buildings have to be maintained just like any other building.
So for the rest of the board members, what Jeff is I haven't spoken to Jeff, never met the man. By the time I went to meet you, you were gone. He's following what we put in a while ago. Mike, that same thing, safety and security of everybody else, that same ordinance that we brought. The problem we're having is an enforcement issue, but it's something that I guess it goes to the town council, whether they want to or not. So I'm the wrong guy to get going on this. Are there any questions from Ron.
Anthony has framed this correctly. When I was the chairman of the planning board, before the attorney and the council recommended my removal, I had written down Route 6 and made a list of all the properties that were not in conformance with the state building code. I was actually gonna go into the building inspector and individually file complaints against every one of the properties. But we, you have to have a building enforcement person who wants to take action, and they change hands quickly. You have to have a council that isn't worried about votes, where they come from. You have to have an attorney who's willing to go to court, and we had John Restivo, who explained to us how Providence did it, not individually, but in a group. Route 6 to this community is a total embarrassment. I've lived all over the country, and I've been in Ohio and West Virginia. I have never seen anything like Route 6, even in West Virginia. I've seen it in Union, Hoboken, New Jersey, but now Hoboken is $2 million condos, all right? There is nothing that I can find any place that looks like Route 6. This is an embarrassment to the town. It's an embarrassment to the council. It's an embarrassment to the attorney. And until the planning board, you are, believe it or not, supposed to be the voice of the community.
Well, Ron, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm sure everybody else here, the same thing. I'm so frustrated as the chairman of this board and being on this board for I don't know how many years now, and not being able to get one piece of trash picked up on Route 6. Okay. Now, my next question, I hate to put you on the spot, Jeff, but the only reason why I'm asking you to I'm putting you on the spot. There are people that are listening to this Zoom meeting that have some authority or some decisions, okay, that they can do. And they've been hearing me preach this for a long time, okay? They heard Ron preach this. The question that the reason why I asked you in here now in public, and a lot of people can hear what somebody with some expertise, okay, says about this. This next question, I hate to lay it on you. How would you go about cleaning up Route 6? Let me put it this way, before you decided to change your mind, how would have you handled it?
Anthony, it's David Paolino. Could I interrupt for 1 second?
Go ahead, David.
Please, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Where's your picture? I want to look at you instead of your dog. Okay.
All right. Well, here's the thing. Hold on 1 second. Thank you. Here's the thing. Jeff will answer the question, but let me answer it also. Let me give you some insight. Mike and Jeff were working at the pleasure of the council to close loose ends on ordinances that were ineffective. Jeff and Mike are working we're working at a fever pace trying to rewrite ordinances to make our ordinances have teeth, to use Jeff's phrase. Jeff and Mike were working really hard. Jeff, I think when I've discussed with Jeff being the liaison to zoning and planning, Jeff had told me the very same thing, that the ordinances lacked any substantial, not only teeth, but the wrong verbiage to go to court and be upheld. We
Okay,
were
let me explain
ineffective.
something. Let me explain something to you, David. I don't mean to cut you off, okay?
Go ahead.
There is no ordinance, okay, that we have to follow because we tried to make our own ordinance. So instead of making our own ordinance, that because we have archaic ordinances, we decided to follow, okay, the state ordinance, okay, which we don't have to have it in our books. It's just a state ordinance that's mandated by the state. So
Understood.
I said, so what I had said very day one, when somebody wanted to be a smart aleck and said, follow the state ordinance. If you open up that state ordinance, which I don't know if you read it or not, but it's good read. I think Warren has it. He can send it to you. Okay. You read that ordinance and you take a look at Route 6, every single thing. And now I'm getting upset because you are a town council person right now. Okay. Every single thing on that ordinance from the state, there are hundreds of violations from Route 94 to Cucumber Hill Road on numerous buildings, numerous properties, numerous businesses, and your council has done squat. The ordinance is there. The ordinance is there. We don't need any new ordinances. We need people to do business.
Well,
We
hold
can't
on,
do
hold on
business
a
in this
second.
town with new people.
This is
I
getting,
rest my case. Anthony's upset, and I think some of you people can understand why I'm so upset, because I've been preaching this thing for 6 years. The same person's on here listening, clapping your hands like a smart aleck, okay, and has done nothing about it.
That's raising my hand, Anthony.
all right.
That's,
let's-
that's raising my hand.
You're hiding.
Hold on, Anthony, hold
Okay,
on
I
a
didn't know. I
second.
thought that was a clap. I'm not a computer guru, Denise.
I understand that, Anthony.
I'll
Anthony,
acknowledge you,
Anthony,
Mr.
I'm not,
Franco. Mr. Franco, I'll acknowledge you when the time is right,
thank you.
Mr.
Anthony.
Franco. This
Anthony,
is my committee, not yours.
You're right. And it's Mrs. DeFranco.
That's enough.
Same deal.
David,
Mr.
go ahead.
Ramsey, Chairman, in all fairness, Jeff only was on the job for 3 months. Jeff did a very good, Jeff did a very good, Jeff did a very good job. Jeff was trying with Mike to work together to address all the issues that the council and all the concerns. One other issue I wanted to bring up that made it very difficult, and Joanna and Mike and Jeff would be able to speak to it better. But every time you go to enforce an ordinance, we were discussing trying to get a municipal court, trying to work with Situate and Gloucester to get some way to be heard without having to go to the state and wait years with COVID to be heard and to be able to enforce things and create or to file lawsuits to get landowners to act. It's not, I mean, I could be naive. I might not know.
Dave, you took the words right out of my mouth. You are so naive on this issue. You are
Okay.
so naive on what you
Anthony.
want to discuss on this.
This
Okay.
is not.
Listen,
presented as
Joanna,
not
Joanna,
an
Joanna,
appropriate
please,
conversation.
Joanna, you know where I am with this. Dave, municipal court, so forth and so on. Okay, there are ways to do this. Sorry to put you on the spot, Jeff. Okay, I just needed the answers of an expert who I believe he's an expert. I know his background, and he just brought it all to light.
So let's
Not
get
gonna-
back to, let's get back to.
I will, Joanna. I will.
because we're
I've been
doing
waiting
it
6.
very
I've been
quickly.
waiting 6 years to do this. I don't care if I even
Boy, all
speak
these guys keep
anymore
doing
or
is
if I'm even
arguing.
here doing this. I don't care. Okay. Thank you, Jeffrey, for your expertise and your answers. Okay.
You're welcome.
So, Anthony, there are a few other people who wanted to speak. If you wanna-
I'm waiting to choose who I want. Okay.
I know.
Miss
Denise
Wright.
wanted to speak.
Okay, just have a question, and perhaps Mr. Likens can answer this. There is the state code of property maintenance. Who instigates the use of that? Is that just automatically something the towns can tap into? Who decides to tap into it? Or is it something that you should have in your code of ordinances saying, reference this, this, and this? I can see where if you have the state code and it goes into such detail where you get something about weeds in somebody's lawn, that is going to like shoot off firecrackers of warning lights to some of the citizens. They won't go that far. But do you cherry pick parts of the code? Do you, who instigates the actual use of the code?
So the code is a state mandated code, so it's not really an optional code.
Okay.
It's part of a collection of the building, electrical, mechanical, all the codes relevant to mostly buildings. But in this case, the property maintenance code also is relevant to vacant properties and abandoned buildings. So, but to answer a couple of the questions that have popped up. So what David Palin was referencing is, in my short time there, I've been asked to enforce different things. So the property maintenance code is available and is actually required, so that you don't need any changes anywhere to use it, and you should be using it. But sometimes I've been asked to enforce things that weren't relevant to the maintenance code. They were relevant to the use of the property, and that was where Michael and I have been looking at the zoning ordinance and realizing that there's a table of uses, but past that table of uses, there's not much in the way of description of how one might want those uses to be undertaken. So that's what that reference is about. But yes, the property maintenance code is a very strong code. I think basically, Lynn, to answer one of your questions, is you just have to use it even-handedly. So, you know, I would look at the town and at the greater picture, and you kind of pick your worst properties and work your way down. I mean, if you never make it to weeds, you never make it to weeds. And I can assure you that with the amount of hours I had to work at the town, I would never make it to weeds. In my time there, and had I been there longer, I'm sure things might have calmed down and get a little bit efficient, but my understanding is the property maintenance had not been used before. It would be what you might want to look at for the future is that it would be added hours, man hours, people hours, however you want to put it, for that department. The department, of course, handles building permits and reviewing drawings and plans and making inspections and that sort of thing. So this would be on top of that. So sometimes it's just how many hours and employees you have. So that might be something to look at. But this code is used by many municipalities. It is a mandated code, so it's there to use, and I think it would be a very good tool for Route 6.
Does the building and zoning official need permission to use it?
No, it's mandated. It's required.
Okay, that's it.
Ron?
Yeah, three issues came up. I made some notes. First of all, I'm going to make a statement. The two most powerful people in the community, the police chief and the zoning official. So if you don't have a full-time zoning official, Jeff has just told you the amount of hours we allow gives us the inability to, never mind get into the weeds where Lynn was, to work on the first part. The second thing that was brought up here, somebody mentioned municipal court. The planning board, a person on the planning board, well, let's do it twice. The municipal court has come up numerous times. One of the comments was, well, we don't want a municipal court because they'll get our people and who knows who they'll hire. The last part is, what we're really talking about in all issues in this community is nobody on this community, including this planning board. You shouldn't be on the planning board if you don't understand money. The town council, the planning board, the economic development committee, Michael has mentioned numerous committees. Nobody works on the revenue side of the budget. This community only works on the deficit side of the budget. We see we don't have enough money, so we cut something. So we cut Mr. Lyons' position. Then we can't take care of our community. We cut Michael's position, used to be full-time. Jeffrey's position used to be full-time. Both of them have been cut because we don't work on the revenue side of the budget. When the attorney one last thing, and I'll go, I don't want to hold you. When this was brought up to the town council meeting, the attorney stated, we really don't have the money to go to court. Well, again, that's the revenue side of the budget. So the town in whole, sorry, Anthony, is philosophers. Very few people are focused on Mike Carpenter. I asked him, Mike, how far out does Caterpillar plan? And I was looking for 5 years. He said 10, I almost fell over. You know what planning is? Money. You're the planning board. Money. What we talk about is which way the house is going to face, a driveway, stuff like that. Any decision you made should count on how we're going to fund this community and do the things we need. I'm done. Sorry, Anthony.
No problem, Ron.
Anthony, Warren has had his hand up.
I'm sorry, Warren. Go ahead, buddy. You're pretty experienced in this field.
Okay. Yes, as one of the people at the state who was charged with turning 3 codes into the property maintenance code, it was a minimum property standards and a housing code that were brought into the national model code, which is the property maintenance code now. That was a consensus of the 2 laws that Jeff used to adequately enforce in the city of Providence. The city of Providence was the star of enforcing the property maintenance code. You have to have, it is a state mandated code. It's as much of a code as the plumbing code or the building code. It's there. It's the tool that properly applied with the willingness to enforce would bring those distressed looking properties into conformance one way or another. In the city of Providence, Jeff had a municipal court. If you don't have the municipal court, you are years in the enforcement process. Would that be a correct statement, Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
And
So
we tried to
a
have
municipal
a
court
municipal court.
would do things for the town that would, and even if we went in and said, can we get in with Johnston, which is a whole, 12 miles away, and use the merge with another town. Johnston has one. I don't think Situate has one.
They
But
don't.
if we could get linked to use the authority of the Johnston Municipal Court, that would be light years of time and legal cost brought down. I see Joanne shaking her head. A municipal court should be the recommendation of this planning board
Yes.
in conjunction with the enforcement of that property maintenance code. And you need to have that official has to be backed by his employer, which is the council.
Warren, my answer to that, right? Other than that, we did discuss a municipal court, but my answer to that is if the 5 people that are in charge of this town, 6 years ago when I started this, if they brought it to court the way they were supposed to bring it to court, even though we don't have a municipal court, by now we might have been talking to somebody about cleaning up something.
Right.
Okay, and somebody would have been getting fined and we would have been raising money and Route 6 would be getting cleaned up and some other new business might want to come into Route 6 and say, hey, this place is pretty nice. There's a lot of land on Route 6, okay? But no. Okay.
We can't get to court unless there's a building official, a building or zoning official who is actually writing the violations.
So,
Yeah, so we don't have one.
okay, so I'm gonna ask you this, Joanna. Okay? Are we saying the previous building official didn't write violations?
I'm telling
That's
you.
a yes or no question, Joanna.
The town council cannot force the building official to write a violation on any piece of property that the building and zoning official decides does not violate or doesn't want to be in violation. The building official is the only one that has that authority.
You have the authority to make the violation. correct?
Issue the violation, yes. to be
Issue the
valid.
violation. So my question to you was, the previous zoning official didn't issue violations. Is that what you're saying?
I only know what the firm was given to file on.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, a person in that position could also be told, don't go out there and give them violations. Just the way they can't tell them to do it, but they can hint, I don't think you should go out there and give them people violations. You need to go do something else. That could be the reasoning also. I rest my case, Your Honor. Warren?
Okay,
Overruled.
and Jeff will back me up on this. Building officials are not omnipotent. Everything they say comes with an appeal form for everything someone thinks they do wrong.
Right.
Or conversely, if someone were very passionate about an issue, they could file an appeal for something they thought the building official should have done but didn't.
Is that right?
Yes.
Or what?
And there's also a private right of
And-
action, a nuisance action that somebody could file as well.
Right. And
Okay.
an interested party can file an appeal to the Building Board of Review for an inaction or a suspected inaction of the building official.
On a complaint that they actually made, yeah.
Yes,
And that would be our ZBR.
Don't do anything then. Just keep everything the way it is. Is that it, Warren?
no, I'm saying enforce that code.
And legal things happen. Both parties have the right to go to court. right?
Absolutely.
But to do that, I'm going to state again, what the attorney sitting here said at the council meeting. We do not have the money to go to court.
And that could be.
Going to state court, there are filing fees, there are service fees, there's.
No question. No question about it, Joanna. No question about it. Okay.
And how does a municipal court
Differ?
positively differ, positively or negatively from the state superior court system?
Well, there'd be no filing fee because.
There you go.
our court. And the decision would need to be made if the zoning official could actually just kind of do the quick arraignments, if you needed to have the attorney come in and prosecute them, how often you'd have it, but it would be a significant savings.
In fact, the Providence Housing Court was so effective that its judge became mayor.
In addition to just zoning violations, if you had a municipal court, we could also have certain traffic tickets heard.
Oh, the traffic tickets alone would pay for the court.
The fees that we give up to the RITT for our traffic
Absolutely.
tickets are significant.
The
So-
people on this council did not want
It's
a
a charter,
municipal court. They are the people who fought municipal court.
it is a charter change, so it's not, we'd need a charter change for it.
Yes, you're correct.
Before he went over here, Mike, before I go to you, Mike, I'm gonna just ask Joanna one question. So can we go to a municipal court if they would take us in?
You need a charter change for it.
No,
We need
no,
a
not-
charter change.
Not to
State
develop our own municipal court. Like if we wanted to use Johnston's municipal court.
You'd still need to change our charter to say that our municipal court would essentially, it would be our court, but we'd like merge with Johnston so that Johnston would have it would be a dual court. It's not that Johnston could hear our tickets, it's that it would be the Johnston Foster Municipal Court, but we'd still need it to be changed in the charter.
Joanna, the council would have to make that request for a charter change. Is that
Right.
correct? Okay, so if the council doesn't want a municipal court and doesn't want to put that charter change forward, we will continue in this space. Thank you.
Michael. Mike Carpenter.
I'd ask if it's time for me to write letter number 3.
3, didn't you write more than that? My head actually hurts and I have
No,
to
I-
apologize. I have to
I'm-
apologize to my board for losing my cool because you guys know how what this means to me.
This
Okay.
is obviously an emotional issue because of the visuals that we deal with every day. I've written 2 letters. First one back in 18, I think I wrote another one in 20.
1862.
And specifically referencing what Jeff mentioned, the power of the state building code and the state building maintenance code, which gives us the armor plate that we need to win in court. I think the discussion went kind of full circle about the fact that a municipal court would be more convenient than a state court, that the town doesn't budget for funds to support education on violations that are issued. The important thing is we had documented in 2 letters a specific action, which was to respect the state building maintenance code and protect the health, welfare, and safety of the people in town. I'd be more than happy to construct a 3rd letter containing basically the gist of this discussion, so everyone feels somewhat satisfied that what they said really does matter in terms of changing the appearance of Route 6. I'd also like to ask permission if I will write this letter. I will submit it to Anthony for his signature, because that will be his signature, just as Ron signed the first 2. No, Joe signed the first one, Ron signed the second one, and now Anthony can sign the 3rd one. But I would like to add something in the interest of the emotional reaction to this issue and the genuine concern expressed by everyone here. The fact is, we need to establish validate if ownership is ownership changing on blighted properties because of failure to pay tax? Or is tax payment being accepted in lieu of ownership change? All of us as a planning board need to take a little time out of our schedules, visit the town hall, talk to Nancy DeLear, and verify each and every one of us that, in fact, when a derelict property comes up for tax sale, it is not changing hands.
Right.
Ownership of derelict properties on Route 6 is a constant, because derelict owners are allowed to resecure their property for unpaid taxes. That's why you have a historical situation here. It's not a current situation, not driven by economic downturn. These properties that are derelict have been derelict for decades because the owners are allowed to repurchase their property for taxes due. Does the planning board want me to include a recommendation to the council that we prohibit current owners of derelict property from participating in tax sales?
Joanna, maybe you can jump in on that.
Yeah.
You can't do that, though.
We can't do that. The statute is clear that there's a 1-year right of redemption, and that's
Yeah.
state law. So we can't make
need-
an ordinance.
That would be my assignment for you, Joanna.
We can't override state law.
We need to find a way to do just that.
I apologize, but you'd have to change state law for throughout. There's
Then
not.
we probably need to change state law.
So
We're
you-
in Vermont.
Your senator and your rep.
We have that ability now to bring that up as an uncorrectable fault. if we continue to allow these owners of derelict property to continue to retain ownership while they continue to violate state
Mike.
building code,
Mike,
no change will ever be made.
Mike,
But also, Mike, Anthony, 1 second. Part of the issue is that we all, like, we know that they are, or it is our opinion that they are derelict properties. But if there has been no violation and no perfection of a lien to be recorded on the property to say you are a derelict property, even if you change state law, in our position, nothing would happen because we hadn't gone to court to perfect anything to record on title.
Mike and Joanna, here it is in a nutshell, Mike. Whether they pay their taxes or they don't pay their taxes, they are violating something and we just fine them, okay? Like they do in Providence, the fines are pretty expensive, aren't they, Jeffrey? And you get people's attentions when them fines start to add up, okay? The fine
Yes.
adds up a lot faster than his taxes, okay? What we need to do is have a town council, and I said this before, that is willing to do it. And that's the only way that anything will get done without saying litigation, without saying whatever they want to say. They need to violate the violators and let the chips fall where they may. If it takes a year to get it done, 2 years, 5 years, by now we would have been talking to somebody if they did it 6 years ago.
But you need the initial violation to be issued before you.
That's my point. That's my point, Joanna.
That's the building and zoning official.
That's my
That's not the
point.
town council.
No, but
I know what you're saying, Anthony.
if the town council says to the building official, you gotta go clean up Route 6, end of story, it happens.
Anthony.
Like,
George
hold
has
on.
his hand up.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead, Ron. Don't you say you weren't gonna talk to me no more.
This whole thing is a circle.
It is, it's for 6 years,
Hold
that's why
on,
my head is splitting.
Anthony. And if you look at who's in every piece of the circle, stopping the movement to the next piece of the circle, whether it's a full-time zoning official, whether it's the ability to go to court, whether it's a municipal court, this council and our state senator are responsible for us being in this space. No matter what anybody has said here that needs to be done, Michael, no matter who said it, every piece is being stopped. I see you by this town council. All right?
Right.
All right, that's it. That's the thing in a nutshell. We can talk about this forever.
I just got one more person that's gonna talk, and then I'm gonna move on because it's gonna be the same thing that's happened the last 6 years. Nothing's gonna happen about it. Mike, you can write that letter. Georgie Sacco, go ahead, buddy.
Thank you, Tony. I think we've already gone around the weeds again. When we talked about this last time, the purpose after this meeting was to discuss this as a team with the council. All we're doing now is slinging crap back and forth. It's not going to accomplish anything except create harder feelings that are already out there. So let's schedule that time where we're going to talk as, adults.
George, you wanted to talk about adults, so you insinuating that because I lost it, that I wasn't acting like an
I'm
adult?
not insinuating that at all, my friend.
Huh? Is that what you're saying?
I am not insinuating that at all. I'm saying even.
You want to meet with the town council, see the council people, you got Paolino there, you have Denise DeFranco here. They've been listening to this song for the last 6 years. Okay, not David, he's new, okay? So you want to bring in the town council and have a little kumbaya with them?
Yeah.
Let's do that and see if it happens.
I thought that's what we had originally planned, Anthony.
We do. We can do that.
Yes.
We can do that. We have to go, Joanna, what'd you say? They won't come to our meeting. We have to go to their meeting.
I think the visibility is the best for us, Anthony. That was my point.
Oh, that's fine. We can do that. We can do that. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever you guys want to do. I'm done. I'm done. Whatever you guys want to do. I guess I lost. If I had I didn't eat today. I'm on a diet. If I had an oatmeal cookie, I would have been so grumpy.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. I really
Anthony,
apologize.
Do we want, I think it's a good idea. Both the things are a good idea. Number one, if you want to have Mike kind of summarize basically the conversation. There were a number of points that were hit on tonight. And I can, Mike, if you want to obviously send me and Anthony a draft, and I can read through it and add anything that I think, might help, or just draft a letter. And even if you wanted to include something on that about changing state law, we can certainly copy your senator and your rep on that as well, for what it's worth. And then, we can, do we want to discuss, I don't have the town council schedule in front of me. But Joanna, how should we go about scheduling a time with should we just kind of offer a time right now?
Well, we have to ask them to invite us to one of their meetings. So
That's what I mean, yeah.
meeting, like maybe think about a couple options. So they're the 2nd and 4th.
Okay, why don't I touch base with David Palino, because he's my go-to for the council, and talk about some dates that the council would like to have the planning board on for this. And Anthony, I'll let you know. And then we can, at the next meeting, just announce that. Joanna, what do you think?
If they're even willing, they don't have to.
They're the,
Sure.
the 3rd Thursday of every month, 1st and 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be fine.
So yeah.
And so at the next meeting, we'll have a date that just kind of gets announced.
Yeah,
Yep.
that'll work. Mike, you could write your letter, or Xerox, the one that you wrote the last time, and said Xerox. They don't Xerox anymore, do they? That's old.
Oh, and Anthony,
Mimeograph.
They still call that Xerox? I thought that, I don't know, I'll show my age. Mike, you can Xerox that and send it out again. I'll sign it and we'll send it out. Okay.
and Anthony, before we move on completely, Denise still has her hand up. Denise,
Where? I don't see her hand.
it's on the Zoom.
Virtual.
Well, I don't answer squares. She has to show her face. I'm sorry. I wouldn't know if that was Denise or not, if she wasn't in that screen. It could be somebody. There you go. Good
And you're on
evening,
mute,
Mr.
Denise.
Franco. How are you?
You're on mute.
You're a mute. You're muted.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Renzi, and your expertise. I have penciled you in because I do know that you were looking to come before the council. I had penciled you in for May 27th, if that works for you. But after your last planning board meeting, you were talking about that, and I had penciled you in for May 27th. I have been waiting for a letter from you requesting a meeting. So if that works for you, May 27th, if another date works for you, let me know.
The 27th would be the town council meeting, and we would be at your town council meeting, correct?
Yes, yes.
It's okay with me, and the other board members would have to.
You let me know, but I had penciled you in after the your last planning board meeting for May 27th. So you let me know, and I look forward to it. Thank you for letting me speak. Have a nice evening.
Denise, may I say something real quick?
Have a nice evening. Do you have anything to say to Mr. Franco?
I would like, Denise, is it possible to make that the priority on the agenda? Because I have a strong suspicion it's going to take a while.
That's why I wouldn't do it on the 22nd, because the 22nd is the zoning board hearing, or the zoning hearing. So I figure the 27th, and I will make it a very light agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franco.
And so I guess Anthony, we'll move on if there's nothing else.
Yeah,
but,
we're gonna move on, and we'll talk about that and set it up, and we'll meet with them, whoever wants to come.
Thanks to Jeff for
Thank
taking
you
his
very
time
much.
to.
I didn't mean to drag you in on this stuff, kind of, but I just
Thank you.
I just needed somebody to say what really needed, just to reiterate on what we've been trying to say. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jeff.
Is
Thank
is
you. Bye-bye.
anyone from Stony Brook on? Mr. Torres?
Okay. Where are we? The Finance Committee, we're gonna move that until we can sit down with Kelly and discuss.
Yeah, Anthony.
Kelly.
Yeah, you and I spoke.
Yeah.
I'll take that off the agenda going forward until we have a chance to speak with Kelly on that to get her
Okay.
her input.
Okay. An update on the economic development survey, that would be Hillary and Georgie, correct?
Right.
Hillary, I'll let you go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, so George and I met last week and we made a few changes based on Mike and Helen's, I think, feedback. And I would rather ask George if you could pull it up. We did some things in terms of ranking order, and we took out a couple of questions and we softened the tone on people providing long answers. We made clear that it was very optional if they wanted to add additional information. So I think what we have now is in pretty good shape. And George, is it possible for you to share it? Because mine's like buried under like many layers.
Do you want to make it easier so we don't have to read it now and go over it? Do you want to just send that to us?
Yeah.
Sure.
And we'll look at it, and then again, we'll just, we can answer it ourselves as an actual poll, and then the next meeting, we'll just put it together and move it forward and put it in.
Yes. So
Correction.
my understanding was the next step was to create incentives for people, to create a plan for incentives to encourage people to complete it.
Okay.
And so that would be something, the other thing.
Yeah, we can take it. Yeah, absolutely.
Anthony,
You can give them a free ticket to the Foster Old Home Days.
yeah, Anthony, may I I don't want to keep coming to meetings, but may I just give the board some information about surveys? In order for a survey to have any statistical probabilities, it needs a 15% return, all right? Most surveys are built by professional surveys, establishments or companies. This is the same problem Foster has faced for my 32 years. We keep talking about what we would like. I heard ranking. In order to, now this is a business statement. In order to encourage a business or tax revenue, all right, you need to make it appealing for them. Continuing to state what we would like, what fits our rural character. We continue to hold things off, looking for that thing that fits in. And we end up with stuff like solar farms. There's always something worse down the pike. You need to make it appealing to business and quit worrying about which business you will accept, because they don't care. They need a space where they can make a profit. And then in your respect, you get tax revenue to offset some of the things we talked about in the last section. Every survey that's been brought forth says things like, do you like Foster? Do we have enough gas stations? What does that have to do with 50 years? If you don't have enough revenue now, and you don't work on producing revenue for 50 years, you'll be in worse shape. So when I say having a planning board who don't understand money, and every committee in this town is philosophical, nobody cares what we want. If Gina Raimondo, she's gone, sorry, does all the solar farms in the world, try and stop the state.
That's right. Thanks, Ron.
So, all right, Anthony, you got to get realistic. I had an economic development committee, and I'll quit. They came up with, let's build a tech center. Never asked any tech centers if we were appealing to them. Got to quit asking.
All them kids in the BMWs are going to come up here waiting for
All right,
waiting
I'm
for a
sorry.
Starbucks. All right,
Thank you.
I got to move on, Ron.
Yeah.
So if you guys, George and Hillary, send it, or you, George, whichever one's gonna send it, so we can take a look at it. I mean, definitely I know what you're saying, give some incentive. I mean, and we'll see what the outcome comes. It doesn't hurt. Okay, it does not hurt.
It's a low cost for some return. It's not,
You know, it's not gonna hurt to maybe every now and then you get, other than the same 25 people that answer everything in this town or come to every meeting, if it's that many. I mean, we reach out to somebody different and maybe we'll get a different answer. And I definitely want to go through it. You guys put some time and work and effort into it. So I'd like to see what we get back and see what some of the answers of the people that I don't know. Like, I know what Lynn would say, what she wants, you know, and what she feels. A horse in every yard. And so, okay, here we go. Unless you have something to say about that, George, about the, I'm not cutting you short, am I?
Nope. Actually, I wanted to move on to the next thing because I had invited someone to speak to us, Miss Denise Wilkie, regarding wind turbines and her experiences, if you will.
Okay. Okay, so the wind turbines is, you guys got a whole bunch of stuff. George did some work and we got a whole number of letters from people who live near the wind turbines, who've been affected by the wind turbines. So we have their opinions and we have to come up with our own ordinance, I guess, or whatever, to protect the town or allow them in, or whatever the case may be. So I guess, where do we start on this, Michael? How do you want to start this?
So I just quickly, I think that you have all the same documents as you had from the last meeting on this. I think the new things you have are some of the correspondence. I think most of them sent from George. I have you had the correspondence last, I think it's new from Paul Allen. You have a correspondence from him describing concerns. You have Representative Chippendale provided comments. I think that was sent out today. You have, I think BJ Knapp. A letter from BJ Knapp. And then, George, what else did you send me? You sent.
Did I send you the East Greenwich zoning or?
Oh, a Sean Sullivan, something from a Sean Sullivan. There was a letter as well.
He's also been impacted. There was about 5, in the document that I've been preparing, I've been actually gathering all that data into one PDF document with links. That's what I'd send you. It's 35 megabytes. I've also done an extensive amount of research along with my conversations on the impact of impact of wind turbines. The document's acting funky, as you pointed out. There is some relevant information in there that we can go over quickly. Then I can fix it, hopefully, and send it back to everybody so that we can put it into record. But before we begin, we have some people on the line that were kind enough to take their time to speak, and I would appreciate it if we could let them address the board, because to me, there's no more valuable opinion than someone who has to live it. And I think we owe them the respect, and we should listen with open ears and heart. So if I may, Anthony, if you would okay them to speak, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no, listen, I got my own opinion on these wind turbines, and it's probably in agreement with a whole lot of other people, but the question I have, and real quick, is if all this stuff that everybody has put forward here, who sent this letter, Paul Allen, Denise and everything like that, if all of that was really true, per se, I'm not saying it's false, but if all of that was important, why are these wind turbines popping up everywhere?
Anthony, the answer to that is greed.
Huh?
Greed,
Read.
Anthony. That's
Oh, greed, yeah, I mean, so,
greed.
but
So,
in other words, so our point is, yeah, okay. If it was so bad, then they wouldn't be anywhere, but they're still popping up.
well,
But I'm willing to, I really,
tend to
go
disagree.
ahead.
So,
I'm just gonna sit back and
let's
then
let,
I got my own idea how to nip this thing in the bud, hopefully. Okay, so whoever came here and spent their time to do this, go right ahead. I mean, George, you've done the time on this. Go ahead. Stop shaking your head, Paul. I won't let you speak. Go ahead, Georgie.
Denise Wilkie, she has her hand raised, if you will. Thank you, Denise, for coming. I really appreciate it. I know you've been sitting on a very long meeting, so, and taking your personal time to share your experiences, and that is greatly appreciated. So you have the floor. You just have to unmute, Denise,
Yeah, you're muted, Denise.
if you're trying to talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. My name is Denise Wilkie. I live in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. We live 1,100 feet away from one of D. Pascal's giant electric generating plants, which is also called a turbine. When he proposed this turbine in town, all we heard was all the positives about the economic impact and how it was going to be good for the town, but nobody told us of the personal effects, the negative impacts that were going to happen to our neighborhood. We live with 24/7, when it's windy, the sound of, it's like a jet engine circling above your home, and it just circles and it circles, it never lands. We have 2 bedrooms in our home that are unusable because you can't take the noise anymore. We keep our windows closed to try and protect ourselves, but that doesn't work because the sound comes right through your home. It's a low frequency whoosh, whoosh that you just can't get away from. And then the shadow flicker is horrible. That goes right through your home. You can't block it out with curtains. You can't do anything. We often just leave our home. My husband would look at me and say, let's get out of here, and we leave. But none of that is the public really informed of those negative impacts. They just hear all the positives, which is exactly what our town did to us. So we weren't properly informed of how bad it was really going to be. We're not against turbines. Turbines are good for the environment. You just cannot put them next to residential areas. Ours is zoned residential, and they put the giant turbine in. It's not fair to the residents. We lived here for 25 years. We were here way before any turbines, and they have destroyed our neighborhood. Our town looks the other way. D. Pasquale looks the other way. He promised all kinds of things when he was proposing his turbine, and not one thing that he proposed did he follow through on. It was all smoke and mirrors. It was all lies. And we are left to face living like this. So I don't know, in a nutshell, it's been very, very bad, and they should never be in residential areas. I'm open to any questions. And if anybody wants any further documentation, I can certainly forward all the information that I have. It's pretty extensive about the negative impacts of these turbines. And one more thing is, anybody on any town board that is saying, this is a good thing for the town, not one of those people will ever have to live near the turbine. They propose these things, they approve these things, but they don't live near it. They don't have any of the negative impacts. So it's an easy thing to approve it when you don't have to live next to it.
I feel for you, Denise, because I have a business. I do business in Johnston, and they allowed to put those wind turbines down in Johnston right on the buildings. I mean, right next to it. I could walk up and touch the turbine. So they're not even blocked off or anything. My trucks are parked near one. And I was there one night during the day when there's trucks and noise, you don't hear it. At night when it got real quiet, I honestly thought there was a plane coming in, just like you said, Denise. I kept looking, where's this plane? It was that, and there is a flicker. But my question to you is, what were the promises that they made that they didn't follow through on?
They told us it was going to be quiet.
Yeah.
It would not go beyond our
noise ordinances.
Yep.
I've got police reports from in the middle of the night when it was roaring in the 60s, 65, 68 decibels at night in the middle of the night. They promised that was not the case with their turbines. They promised that they could shut it down during peak flicker. We would not really be bothered by the flicker. They have not shut it down once. They never have, they never will. The turbine roars 24 hours a day when it's windy. And that's when he's making all his money, especially at night when the world is quiet, like you said. He's making a lot of money. And once the turbine is up and it's spinning, he walks away from every promise that he makes.
Any of those promises on paper?
Verbal. I've looked at, they're all in the town council meetings. I can give you copies of all the meetings. Everything he said over and over and over that he did not follow through on.
Okay, Joanna?
When this was approved, was there an actual ordinance or any type of special use permit, or they just went in front of the town council for this?
They actually came into town and replaced our broken turbine. The town was in a lot of trouble. They were 1.5 million in hot. And DePasquale came in and said, hey, I'll take down your broken turbine. I'll put up this giant one and the effects will be less. It won't be as noisy. There won't be any more shadow flicker. So he came in with the approvals already in place for the previous turbine.
Where are you, Denise?
Portsmouth.
Oh, you're the one in Portsmouth that's right at St. George's, correct?
Nope, we're next to Portsmouth High School.
Oh, that one. Okay, I see it on the water. That's good. That was broken forever, correct?
It was broken for several years. Yes.
Okay. Okay. You were the first ones to put it up, though. One of the first ones in the state, if I'm correct, right?
No, Mark DePasquale put up his in Kingston first.
Right. Okay. Okay. But now let me ask you, this is the first time it was passed before it broke down. Did it make the noise and flicker?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So really, the second one was no different than the first one.
The second one was way worse. It's 100 feet taller.
Yeah, it was bigger.
The shadow flicker is much more pronounced.
Okay.
The noise is much louder.
Okay. But you did have issues with the first one also, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But I think important to take away from what Denise said was that there were some safeguards that she felt comfortable with, that they were going to stop it at peak flicker, that they were going to so those are some things that we might
Well, that's what I had, Joanna. I was waiting for everybody. That's what I had up my sleeve. Okay. If they could produce a turbine that meets this decibel and a turbine that doesn't flicker, yeah, which they can't.
Well, but they were talking about, she said that one of the things that she felt comfortable with when they said it was that at peak flicker, they would stop the turbine. So they do have the ability to stop and start it. It's kind of costly to do it and it interrupts the flow of the energy, but I do think they have the ability to do it.
But the peak.
But they just don't.
But if our ordinance says this is what you have to do and the special use.
Good luck with that, Joanne. Check out Coventry and all the lawsuits they have in with this company. And I think
Coventry did not have an ordinance when those wind turbines went up.
Sure, but Mike Chippendale has gone through it, and they've gone in numerous of lawsuits. They do have a noise ordinance, and they are in violation with the noise ordinance.
Noise ordinances are hard to enforce.
Yeah, well, so are stopping people from operating the turbine when they want it to, when they're generating more money than the lawsuit's going to cost them. You know, and that's what it boils down to. It's a business decision for people, right? It's dollars and cents. We just talked about business in extensive. We just got a lesson in how to run a business a few minutes ago. Well, that's the business decision these guys are making, right? Wind turbines are more costly to stop than it is to continue to run and generate the power. They're actually generating more money generating the power than they would and just pay the lawsuits than it would be to shut them down. So it's a business decision. They have lawyers on staff. You can't, so once you let these things up, you have no control over what happens. And everyone I've spoken with says, don't let them up, you know? So I think the best ordinance is for us to follow suit with North Kingstown and West Greenwich and say, we don't want wind turbines. If you want, for smaller things, if we're looking for, you know, reasonable measures, you can follow Charleston, Rhode Island. And Charleston, Rhode Island says no large turbines at all, but we will allow accessory use turbines. right? So they allow it as an accessory to a primary purpose of property use as a residential property.
Yeah, now that's what, George, that's what they did that's how they started in Block Island, okay? Letting them accessory use, okay? So now we're pretty spread apart. Those little turbines, okay, the accessory use turbine, they make a lot of noise and they hum too. So if you're a neighbor to one of them, it's a pain in the butt also.
Then I think we
Okay.
should, and to keep the peace in town, I think we should.
I'm telling you, you're preaching to the choir on this one, dude.
All right,
Okay.
so why?
I mean, I don't understand why.
What's holding us up, Mr. Renzi?
I don't understand why, and I'll ask our attorney, okay, why we just cannot, like Green, Rhode Island, no wind turbines. That's it.
So you can do that, and then when somebody files a lawsuit
Then
saying.
we'll have to hide, then you've got another.
Joanne, it says,
But then here's your issue. Here's your issue, because somebody's gonna file for a dimension, a use variance, and then and they go to court, and then if they in fact win in court, you have no parameters to enforce. So what they get is basically whatever they want. You have no parameters to actually enforce. That is why it's a very slippery slope, and it's dangerous, because then that takes it completely out of your hands.
So are you feeling lucky that day, Joanna? Say that again, George? I'm sorry.
North Smithfield won in their zoning board.
On a wind turbine?
Yeah.
What did
Yes,
North Smithfield do?
They prohibited the turbines.
It's an earlier thing. They
Okay.
lost the
And
turbines
somebody-
from being in a residential area. And they pretty much says, no, it's not allowed. It violates all the zoning in the area. So we could put a maximum zoning height for items, and then say no wind turbines. Don't we have a maximum zone, height zoning? No more
Yeah.
than
35 feet.
35 feet, yeah.
That's what North Smithfield had. North Smithfield hung their hat on that, and they won in the zoning, in zoning.
Yeah, but they also,
Didn't get a suit.
they also put North Smithfield a 260-acre solar farm.
So,
But-
We
prohibits
It's a separate issue.
Enforceable.
Kingston, what is
But
this?
I don't think that went to Superior, or I have not seen that case.
And then right in the Rhode Island, Joanne, right in Rhode Island's thing that Mike shared, it says it's up to the municipality, up to the town to decide. They don't have to pursue wind energy. They just need a renewable energy plan. We have one in place with solar.
Right now, you don't have to. I don't know what the state does 5 years from now, but blanket prohibition.
Why are we going to open the doors for trouble now with the assumption that someday it may happen? You know what I think? I think these things are going to get pushed more offshore. Number one, they can put bigger ones up. It doesn't interfere with people. It eliminates all the problems that we're having with health issues. Because let me tell you, I've got 200 pages, hours of research on health problems created from wind turbines. People with migraine headaches, inner ear problems, dizziness, nausea.
But then again, George, there's my question to you again, okay? See all the research you're doing?
Yep.
All them studies and everything you have. If we just go away from Rhode Island a little bit, because Rhode Island's so small, you can actually count how many we have in Rhode Island.
The Massachusetts.
I was in Wyoming in the top of the mountain, and they are as far as the eye can see. Okay, and I was disturbed about it because I thought they just ruined the beautiful landscape. As far as the eye could see, back to back, two of them back to back. I mean, for miles and miles of wind turbines. Okay, and that was 10 years ago. I don't know what they got there now. Okay, it's not something that whatever these studies are coming up with in killing bats and everything else, Paul, they're still allowing them to go up. It can't be as bad. I shouldn't say that. They probably are as bad as everything that all these studies are saying, but the way we feel here in this town.
I understand.
Anthony, you just said it. Excuse me one second, George. Okay, because I just came through from Kentucky to West Virginia, and they have wind turbines on remote ridges. They're converting over from coal. Now they've embraced wind and solar. They're not putting them in people's backyards. They're putting them in remote locations.
And California has them in the deserts.
Yeah,
exactly. They're not. That's the point. That's all we're arguing about.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Unless you live next to one, you cannot have an informed opinion about what it is like to live next to it. and to be woken up at night by it and listen to it constantly. You can say people do studies, and there's lots of studies, but until you live next to it, you truly don't understand it. You don't.
I agree with you 120% because I've been standing underneath them and I wouldn't want one next to my house.
Anthony, somebody else has had their hand up for a while, David and Jamie.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. I live next to Denise. I actually live 800 feet away from the wind turbine. I go out my back door in my patio and the wind turbine is boom, right there. I can't read a book in peace and quiet. I can't sit out on my patio. I've had to move my bedroom. I have anxiety attacks. I have breakdowns. I have to take sleeping pills to go to sleep at night from it. I argue, I fight with my husband. Why can't you stop this? He can't stop it. I lay in bed at night. I put my head on my pillow and all I hear is the wind turbine going thump, thump, thump. And it's not just a whoosh. Sometimes it's the mechanical noise in it. It doesn't have a gearbox, they say, but it still goes round. So there's that whining sound that you hear. The vibrations you hear, it's an infrasound. And I don't understand why nobody understands the infrasound. You ask a blind person if they can feel vibration. You can feel it. They can feel it. A blind person can feel vibrations. It's heartbreaking. I've lived in this house for 30 years. I've lived in Portsmouth all my life. And to have to tell my husband, I want to move. I don't want to live here no more. Please, let's sell the house. We get a realtor and the realtor tells us, well, we can't get the money we have in our home. So we can't even sell our home. The flicker, the shadow flicker that you get, I have now been experiencing it for 6 weeks. It is worse than a strobe light. And DePascal's comment is get blackout shades. I can't live in darkness for 3 hours a day for 6 weeks in the spring, 6 weeks in the fall. I'm constantly surrounded by shadow flicker because if it's not directly on my house, it's above my house, it's behind my house, it's around my house, it's down the street, it's on the street. I would invite any of you to come to my house and sit in my yard, in my backyard, and just try to enjoy yourself in a yard that used to be quiet in a home where you're turning up the TV because the wind turbine is so loud outside. I would implore you to really research this before you allow it in your homes. It does not belong in a residential neighborhood. And that's all I really have to say.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry again. The only problem we have here in Foster, there's so much open land that somebody can plop one in and it doesn't have to be near any houses. You know what I mean, George? I know what I'm telling you is we're different than Portsmouth. They're pretty close to each other, pretty close to that turbine. Somebody who's got 100 acres in the middle of wherever, they can put one in and it's really a long distance away from anybody's house and they're not going to see the flicker or they're not going to hear the noise.
Flicker travels
we're going to see it. What's that?
7 miles. Flicker travels for 7 miles, 5 to 7 miles. You're talking about something that's 300 to 400 feet in the air.
Have you ever been under, George? Have you ever been under one?
Yes.
I'll take you for a ride in Johnston. You could touch it.
I think I've been there, man.
You know, and like, yeah, I know the noise and stuff. I don't know about 7 miles away if I would hear it. I'm not for them. I
wanted to address your question before regarding, why is nothing being done if this is so bad? Well, finally, in February 14th of 2020, Plymouth, after years of fighting, has declared several massive wind turbines a public health nuisance. This is starting to happen now. If we put an ordinance in now, we're opening ourselves up for something that could be fixed 5 years from now by the time we're being told we might get sued. So my suggestion is we put an ordinance in that says no wind turbines, like you say, Anthony, and then let's stick to our guns. You
feeling lucky that day, Joanna, when we go to court?
Let's stick to our guns. We
have.
I think you should, people, the TCA, the Federal Telecommunications Act, people didn't want cell phone towers. There's a lot of research that there's, radiation from cell phone towers,
Man, this is a,
etc. And the
this-
federal government says that you can't use any of that, and they can basically put a cell phone tower anywhere they want. So, but towns do have the ability to restrict it for certain purposes. So you can all out prohibit it with the understanding that you may come across, by doing that, you are leaving your citizens vulnerable to absolutely no restrictions, or you can really look at all of the research and try to create an ordinance that protects all of your citizens, making sure that they're cited in such a fashion that it doesn't affect any of your residents like that.
I think the restrictions should be restrictive enough to make it not easy to put one up.
Not quite prohibited, but that it's going to protect anybody who is living in a residential area so that nobody has to deal with that.
our zoning sucks. We have no good areas. You're talking about putting commercial zoning on Route 6. Route 6 is splattered with commercial and residential zoning.
But then you need to then resolve yourself to the fact that you could be leaving somebody open to having it in their backyard because you cannot do that.
That's what we're resolving the fact to. We're just going to leave it open to anybody because our land, the way we're designed, is going to leave it wide open to some.
An all-out prohibition leaves you vulnerable to that.
We're gonna fix it, Georgie. We're gonna put our minds together. Michael, go ahead.
If I may, and I am gonna write letter 3, Anthony, for you on Blight. But if I may, I'm just gonna read something here. An amendment of an ordinance entitled Town of Foster Zoning Ordinances adopted July 1967 and last amended May 2nd, 2016. George, that's a while ago, isn't it?
Yep.
Not too much conversation about windmills in 2016. However, it is ordained by the town council of the town of Foster, okay, the town, that the zoning ordinance adopted July 1967 and last amended May 2nd, 2016, chapter 38 of the Code of Ordinances of the town of Foster, Rhode Island, is hereby amended by specifically adding to the text of Article 6 supplementary regulations with section 24, wind turbines, as follows. Anybody have a copy of that?
No.
So right now we have a turbine, we have a no go on turbines.
Well, you know what, George?
I thought
Here we have the new Green Deal is just about to cost us $3 trillion. So I don't think you're going to stop wind turbines, and you're not going to stop solar if we're going to get to net zero by 2040.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
So
that's where I don't think.
let's just take a quiet step back and think about the fact that the folks who are elected by due process have stated that we will be net zero by 2040. That means that alternate energy will be the primary source of power.
One that's not even recyclable. And then 30 years later.
I spent 30 years in the energy business, okay? I'm very familiar with not only wind turbines, solar panels. How about landfill gas generation? Is anybody familiar with that?
Very much so.
Methane at the Mount Johnston.
Well, those were my engines, okay?
They are.
And now they're turbines. How about hydroelectric power?
Well, welcome it. Open up Hydro Quebec and we go down to 7 cents a kilowatt hour.
Nice thought, Warren, but guess what? You can't.
They wrote it out of the law and it doesn't count.
Warren, you can't sell hydroelectric power because it's too expensive. Okay, you have to maintain a dam and hydroelectric generators, which are prohibitively expensive. I don't want to get off, Anthony. I just want to say that in 2016, we drafted an ordinance about wind turbines.
I guess,
It's not very long, okay? It's very comprehensive. And I suggested to Mike, okay, that we take a look at Coventry because they have some practical things that they've come up with over the years that might add to that. But I would, and I think we need to start following democratic rules of order. We need to make a motion. We need to get it seconded. We need to get a discussion going, and then we need to make a motion as to what we're going to do to resolve the problem. So I would like to make a motion that we go back to the original draft ordinance that we produced as planning board. Okay, review it, add all of the new energy and information that everybody's provided tonight. Okay, and specifically, and with real, as George so appropriately stated, with heart and care, okay, with people like Paul Allen, okay, who did tremendous amounts of research about wildlife and environmental impact. We need to create an ordinance, as Joanne stated, that will defend us from here forward against any inappropriate use of alternate energy, including wind power, solar power, nuclear power. Okay, and don't discount nuclear power because we're down to 1 meg units now. Okay, we need to draft ordinances that protect us realistically from inappropriate use of alternate energy in Foster that violates the principles of our comprehensive plan, which Michael will never get to talk about tonight because we'll be here.
No, this is the last
Wednesday,
discussion we're having right here.
next week.
We're done after this.
So would
I had
someone please second my motion that we should review the draft ordinance that we all already prepared so everybody can get up to speed? And
Mike, I'd like to
go
make,
from there?
Mike,
Yes,
make it in the form of a motion. Don't make it in the form of a discussion, just a motion.
just a motion to discuss the draft ordinance.
No, I move that we revisit the 2016 zoning,
I think Mike's motion was that he wanted to move that all the planning board members review the 2016 draft that was previously provided
Yep.
and incorporate any additional comments that they might have based on all the information that was either stated tonight or distributed by the planner.
yeah, that doesn't need to be a motion. That just needs to be a recommendation. And I think
Sure.
people would be more than happy to do that.
We need to put some teeth in it though, Helen, so that everybody gets a copy of it.
No, we're not writing the ordinance tonight or in this. We're just doing the research.
But
And
who's going to distribute that 2016 copy? I mean, I have a hard copy. I don't even think, I think I have a, is it okay for me to send my electronic copy to everybody, Anthony?
Just send it to, Mike, just send it to me. I thought I sent out an old draft of the wind
No.
turbine ordinance.
I didn't even know we had.
But I would very much like to incorporate the incredible research that Paul Allen did, because he went back to government. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but the information, most of the information you got was from the government, which we didn't have before. We didn't have the full impact on, interrupting forested areas, the amount of destruction that's involved with windmills regarding the environment. I don't think we had an adequate portion of that in our draft. The other thing that needs to be added, there need to be technical adders Because what most people don't understand is windmills do not generate significant power. Please understand that. That's why they're referred to as alternate energy.
Right.
All of the windmills and solar panels in place in this country at this point in time supply less than 13% of our electrical demand. Less than 13%. Case in point, what just happened in Texas, jump off the grid, rely on solar power, windmills, and freeze to death. Okay, that's what happens. So we need to caution our citizens, we need to inform our citizens and reassure our citizens that we have their health, safety, and welfare first on our list. So I will send everybody a copy of the 2016, if that's okay with Mike and Anthony.
Yeah.
Please take a look at it, add your comments. I want to add Paul's tremendous document to that. And let's go forward and come up with what Joanna talked about.
Good.
Something that will defend us in court.
Well, that's my point, Mike. I'm trying to make it as difficult as possible for them to, and in other words, if we have in our ordinance, it can only, you can't have something with 65 decibels or higher, and a wind turbine is 70 decibels.
Oh, I see that right here. I didn't even see that. I was just.
You're much worse than that, Anthony. If I'm not mistaken, Mike, you're a big ISO guy. Isn't it 35 decibels is recommended level?
You can't measure sound, George. If you could, you wouldn't have all those motorcycles going up and down Route 6.
Okay. So a decibel thing doesn't protect us, you're saying?
Doesn't protect crap, okay? I can tell you that right now.
What about flicker? They can put up a windmill as long as it don't flicker.
It's impossible not to make it flicker.
You have to, but I think you can, somebody should look into restricting, like prime flicker
They
time.
already have that, Joanne. They're not listening to it. That's the whole point. You can.
They'd rather pay the fine.
But George, wait, no, George, let me clarify. They have that because they represented verbally to a town council that they weren't going to do it.
You're talking about one situation.
No,
There's other situations out there that you haven't researched yet.
Is it?
Can I clarify that,
a special
Joanne?
permit? No.
No, can I clarify that, Joanne?
Go ahead.
If you have windmills in place, in order to connect to the grid as what we call distributed generation, you have to bid for that power that you will provide when you're called on. If ISO calls you and says, go online, we need alternate power, we need additional power, and you can't produce what you contracted for, you're fined for an equal amount of electricity at the rate that you would have been paid, which is usually 40 cents a kilowatt hour, which usually can, for a 1500 kW windmill, can amount to $1 million a year. My engines at the Rhode Island landfill produced $1 million a year in revenue at 40 cents a kilowatt hour. They were alternate energy. So the fines are incredible for not coming online, or like George says, if you think these guys are going to shut down to stop flicker at $40,000 a day, you're nuts. Would you do that, Anthony?
Once they're up, it's going to be
They're
hard
up.
to do it. One second, Paul. But that's what I'm getting at. So if we're not an ordinance, you can't have anything that produces flicker.
That is too prohibitive.
Why?
Because then that would prevent anyone from ever coming up. If you
You're better off just saying you can't have them.
And again, I mean, you guys do what you want.
But I'm trying to give you something to work with. You said we can't, if we say no,
prohibit it completely.
At all.
The
But
first
if-
thing we need to do is look at our 20, everybody needs to get a copy of 2016 draft, look at it, and then we can sit down at the next meeting and have an intelligent discussion.
You're right.
I think that's the best way to proceed, because then we can continue this conversation, the issues that we're bringing up and looking at those individual points. And if the board, and Joanna has explained numerous times her concerns about banning outright, and I tend to agree with them. But if the board does not, if at the end of the day you create an ordinance that you think you can't come to terms with, if you think at that time you think a ban is the most appropriate, then that's your recommendation to the town council.
May I speak?
Proceed. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
There's the problem, and I agree, we need a strong ordinance, but as I've mentioned before, we've got to have a permanent moratorium and be prepared for the fight when it comes, because DePasquale is not going to be restrained. He's going to do what he wants to do if he's allowed into the town. That's his pattern everywhere.
Yep.
And so we have to have a permanent moratorium with a strong ordinance, because otherwise, once he's in, Mr. Kelly was mentioning the Coventry turbines. I believe I'm correct that I have looked at special use permits for those turbines involving flicker violations. He doesn't care. As George has pointed out, he's going to do what he wants to do.
Mr. Chippendale wrote it in his letter. We're going to ignore that, Rep. Chippendale?
I read Chippendale.
Everyone read Mr. Rep. Chippendale's letter?
Yep.
Chippendale actually asked
He asked for it to be read aloud, I thought.
letter to be read.
He asked me to read it for him.
Yeah, I read it. It just really, I don't see anything what the representative did to help the townspeople. He didn't do anything. His hands are tied also.
The problem was after the fact, Anthony. The issue is, if we open the doors to this, we're going to be dealing with issues and lawsuits, and litigation.
Dude, no one's disagreeing with you on this, George. You're almost looking like me with the Blight ordinance.
I know. Look at that. We're very similar personalities, Anthony.
Isn't there a Blight aspect to turbines? I mean, if you want to add Blight to Route 6 or 101, turbines.
Have at it.
Yeah, but you're going to add Blight to anywhere, because Route 6 and 101 is not where you're going to only see it. You're going to see it all around our whole small little town.
But I have to tell you, if I was to flip a coin to look at the garbage that's on Route 6 versus one wind turbine.
Get it? No way. We can fight the garbage on Route 6, Anthony. We can't fight.
No, you're absolutely right. Listen, I told you, I park my vehicles underneath those turbines. My friend makes $60,000 a year just because it's on his property.
Right.
And you know what? It's on his property. He doesn't hear the noise because he just hears the cha-ching. You know what I mean? But I honestly hear the noise. I see the flicker. You drive. If you're on a certain side of Plainfield Pike and the sun's coming in the afternoon and you're going up Shunpike near the landfill, the flicker comes from 4 or 5 of them. When you're driving your car, it's not too bad. But a couple of times I've actually ducked because I didn't know it was coming. But I just feel for those people that have it near their house. To listen to that and deal with that day in and day out is going to be horrendous. But
you're absolutely right, and I fear by putting in an ordinance, we're opening the door to that in our own, and with our own neighbors, with ourselves, with our family, with our friends. I think we need to put a no-use zoning thing with some teeth in it. I don't know how to do that, Joanne. Maybe you can help us research that.
I'm telling you that putting a complete ban opens you up to having people have the constitutional right to use their property. Putting a complete ban opens
You
you
have the right to use your property without impacting your neighbor.
We ban nuclear power plants.
who said that?
I did.
That's Warren.
Warren, his camera is off.
Yeah,
You just
Oh,
I
you
lost
can-
it. There you
There
go.
you are.
to
Well, yeah,
understand that you have potentially, you're creating a situation where, I mean, I think it was Gloucester or somebody had it with the solar farm. And then that solar farm that went in had really barely any restrictions, because although it went back to a board for, it was a use variance, I believe, there was no ordinance in place where the board could actually impose parameters because they didn't have anything to pull off of.
So if we do what Charleston did, where we do allow wind energy on a small scale, which is an individual homeowner scale, right? Then it does open the door up for wind energy, but it does not open the door up for eyesores, for noise, for thumping, for nausea, for all the aggravation that goes with it.
Well, you certainly
By
should
your
allow
logic.
it in an AR.
Hey, George, let me ask you this, okay?
What's
Hypothetically, your neighbor, you guys are pretty close to each other, okay? If he puts up a wind turbine in his yard, okay, that's, instead of solar, he puts up a small wind turbine like they use on Block Island, okay? It's above his house, it's got enough wind and everything, okay? You're gonna hear it next door to him, and
No.
you're gonna see the flicker next door to him.
Let me address that question. Now you'll have teeth because you don't have a very rich person living next door to you, the size of DePasquale's company, where you could put some ordinance. Look, read the Charleston ordinance it's in the big packet that's screwed up, but I'll send it to you. So now you've got teeth, right? All right. Well, you can't have flicker. If it's having flicker, you have to shut it off. You can't create noise above a certain decibel, and the smaller ones probably don't do as much. I'm imagining we can research that, right, Anthony? So now you allowed some wind turbine energy. You got some teeth there, but you've restricted to 10 kilowatts, which is what a homeowner needs.
I know what you, on Block Island, I have friends on Block Island. He didn't have the wind turbine. They allowed a lot of the wind turbines on Block Island.
Mhm.
The small ones.
Yeah.
So noisy and so whatever, they made people take them away. But you're talking about an island with a lot of money, and people with a lot of money. So more money outweighed the other money, and they took away the small ones because of the noise and all that other stuff. And plus they get into the ones that are offshore. But that's off track. I don't want to hear any of that.
Before we move on tonight, Anthony, I see Jamie or David Souza with their hand up still. Did you want to take any more comments before we move on?
Well, go ahead, right ahead. Why not? I don't see hands, so I don't know who's up.
Yeah, sorry, the conversation kept rolling, but they had their hand up.
All right, go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead, Jamie.
No, this is David.
Or
David Souza. Yeah, I've been listening to you guys are bringing up very good points. I've been dealing with this wind turbine since it's been installed. I have brought it to my town council and we have had meetings on it. When I have showed them where the town of Portsmouth has lost money because of this turbine being in this town due to what DePasquale is charging us for electric. It is 15 point something percent. I mean, not percent, per kilowatt. And I did the research and I proved it to the town that we were at that time, because we were underneath the plan that where everybody, like you guys probably look at yours, we were only paying 7 point something for our kilowatts. And I showed them that. I showed them the flicker on my house. I showed them flicker on our 24, where that is heavily, that is our main traffic comes into Portsmouth. We have police reports with sound decimals taken. And when those were coming back in favor of the residents, they shut us down. They refused to discuss anything with us on this turbine at any time. They said they will no longer be discussing this turbine. It is a closed issue. So I have reached out to all different areas and tried to get help and stuff to try to mitigate this. I even reached out to DePasquale and asked him if he could shut it down during a high flicker. You know, sometimes it's not too bad, but since he's put this one in that is so tall and stuff, it travels now up to 3 miles to flicker on the town of Portsmouth. We have residents that before never got it with our road turbine. I have showed the state of Rhode Island because of the vibration it causes, because they put it on ledge, not even a solid, it's a ledge they got this turbine in. And if you go on 24, you can see where the rock is falling on the side of the road. And I have proven it to them and showed them things. Their solution was, so I can't see it no more, they send their state guys to pick it up. So it's not there. I have documentation. If you guys need anything from flicker to sound to decimals of what it brings and stuff like that, I have everything that you would ever think of.
Have
And then,
you guys changed your ordinance? since that?
no, because De Pasquale's contract, if you ever get a chance and you want to read the contract with the town of Portsmouth, if the town of Portsmouth interferes with the turbine, they have to pay De Pasquale for any loss of his stuff. So our contract is a real, that's why I'm saying you guys making up good points, but make sure you go through that contract and make sure these, because his contracts are very, very good. And it's all in favor of him to help. Yes,
So
I said,
Can they put up another one in Portsmouth?
yeah, that's the one in Portsmouth.
Can they put up another one in Portsmouth? Have you guys done anything to stop it?
We have tried all different things to try to stop it.
So,
And
so technically, if he gets a piece of property, he can put another one up in Portsmouth.
well, he tried putting another one up in Portsmouth and it did get shot down. That was over by the Portsmouth Middle School. And the reason why he couldn't put that one, because it was in the path route of our airport.
Oh, okay.
But
That's
he can, yeah.
I have a
So
question. Does he provide the power to the town? Like, is he using that turbine to provide the town, like residents? You pay him, he provides you electricity?
Right.
no, he does. No, he does not.
What bill were you talking about? What is he charging?
Okay, he, right, order to, when he put the turbine in, he said he would only charge the town 15% for electric.
So he's providing
15. He's providing for the town,
for the town buildings. Okay.
town buildings.
All right.
And, but we were only paying 7% at that time. And this is all came about because we had a broken turbine and he was willing to fix it.
So now you guys are stuck with him because of that
So-
contract.
Yes, we are stuck with him and he has an almost an iron card contract.
How we got?
And we're working, when we're working on it, we have a committee that we've been working on this for years. And like I said, if you guys, anytime you guys want to come by my property, I'll gladly invite you over. We will have a little cookout if you would like. But the flicker and stuff. And if you guys are in the neighborhood around 3 to 4 o'clock, just drive in Portsmouth and just look at the flicker and see how far it travels and see. And like I said, windy days, as soon as it's above 10 miles an hour, that thing starts to roar. And then now we had to, lately, is because of New England weather, we have had ice buildup on it. We've been having ice things fly off it.
I never heard of that.
Yeah. Oh, no, they keep everything kind of hush hush what's happening. But I've been doing, like I said, I do a lot of research. I mean, I can see this thing. I'm like watching you guys right now. I can watch that turbine. That's how pretty close I am. My wife's telling me to calm down. It just gets me very upset because we try everything to work with this guy, De Pasquale. He promised us the world and gave us nothing. Yes.
The ice is a problem, Anthony, because the turbines weren't designed to be in like air, in the Northeast. So some of the newer ones, I think they have some heating type, some type of heating component so that.
Up in New Hampshire and further up where it's real cold, so I'm sure they figured it out.
But originally the design wasn't, that's why, but there's the newer ones are supposed to have some type of heating component so that doesn't happen, but it is dangerous. And I also think sometimes it breaks them.
George.
Yes, George.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to motion for an outright ban of wind turbines and we come up with an ordinance that just, explains our point well. Can I get a second on the motion?
We already had a motion. Do we have a second on that motion? Okay.
You're muted.
Ellen, you're muted, but she was waving me off, so I think.
What?
Who are we, which motion are we on George's or are we still on Mike's?
Oh, yeah, we didn't finish yours, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, why don't you finish?
Helen suggested that Mike's didn't need to be a motion.
Exactly.
Oh, right.
I'm going to motion for an outright ban on wind turbines. I got a
I'll
second.
second
Can't,
that.
you
I
can't,
think
you can't do that. You
Why can I
can't-
not do that, Mike? We motion for stuff all the time. I got a second.
Like, I'm sorry, who seconded, please?
That
I
was
did.
Hillary.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any discussion on that?
George moved and Hillary seconded the motion to create an ordinance that bans wind turbines in.
No,
No, that's
no,
not what he
that's
said.
not the motion. He said to put a ban on turbines until we get an ordinance.
No, I said no. I said an outright ban on
Yeah.
turbines.
You can't do that.
Why
You
not?
voted for green energy.
I,
The
first
green
off,
energy bill passed.
that form that Mike Angeloni said, sent us, said that we don't have to pursue wind. We just have to have a renewable energy plan. So I'm hanging my hat on that. Our renewable energy plan is solar farms. We've already got them in place. End of story. Just because someone says something might happen doesn't mean it's gonna happen. So I want to take the chance and fight that.
The
I mean,
last
I'm
time,
being bullied.
the last time they banned windmills, we stopped discussion on a windmill ordinance. And everybody's in agreement that we need a windmill ordinance
Well, I don't think
in order
everyone's
to
in agreement.
protect
I've
ourselves.
already got a second. So with all due respect.
With all due respect, it's going down the wrong road again.
Mike, we can vote, you can vote on it.
Let's vote on it.
George moved and Hillary seconded, and so there has to be a vote up or down at this.
Go ahead.
Question
Warren.
on that, is that in all zones? Is that in the AR zone?
All zones.
All zones.
And I think, I forget which are the, it's West Greenwich and North Kingstown. Who are the towns you said that have the?
Kingstown and West
There
Greenwich.
are-
I mean, I haven't gone through all of them. I'm sure there's others. I know when Socket was approached, and I don't know what they did. I know North.
Richmond banded it. I think Richmond banned it.
Hopkinton, I
maybe.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think I sent those ones
Other
along.
towns are doing it. It's worth a shot.
And for semi-justification of George's motion, I would say that commercial production of power beyond those consumed on the site is an industrial use, requiring construction of a power plant. Here, the power plant is 100 feet in the air.
Okay,
So the most similar use in our current zoning ordinance are prohibited uses of 2 of the 3 current methods of power generation stations, being solid fuel and nuclear fuel, but not necessarily fossil gas like we were facing in Burrillville. So that our current ordinance lists things not currently defined as prohibited. And it should be this board's determination that industrial power generated on a commercial scale is a prohibited use in the AR zone, in all zones, in all zones.
Thank you, Warren.
well, that sounds great, Warren.
Can we get a vote?
But I have to go to council on this and ask if that would stand up if somebody came in and wanted to put in a wind turbine, as it stands right now, Joanne.
I don't believe it will. And I think the people who are putting in wind turbines are putting them in towns right now that either have no ordinance or that it's a little bit easier to put in. And as soon as they've already cited those, they're going to come after all the people who have outright banned it and apply for use variances. And when they're denied, they're going to go up to court. And it happened with the solar farm, and it is very likely that it will happen in this instance, and it gets kicked back to the planning or the
We
zoning
have a
board.
ban on the solar farm, did we, Joanne?
Not our town, another town. And so then it goes back and you guys have to say, oh, all right, well, but we have no parameters. So they get to really do a lot more than they normally could if you had created an ordinance that was specific. So that's the chance that you take with that.
A little food for thought. There are plenty of people in this town that have approached Mr. Di Pasquale to put up a turbine on their property so that they can make the $55,000 a year. And the answer is, we don't have the infrastructure to handle the power that the wind turbine needs.
But
And that is why he hasn't been in this town raping and pillaging.
And we've been fortunate up to this point, Anthony, and that's why we need to put
I'm not denying that. So why don't we do this, okay? Honestly, have a splitting headache. I'm tired.
Can we finish the vote, please?
Put the chickens right.
The motion is made and seconded, and I would like to move the motion.
You see that? You want to vote on the motion, Helen?
Yeah, I'm moving the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Mike Carpenter,
No.
Hillary,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Anthony.
Yep.
Me too. So that is 5-1 in favor of a ban on wind turbines in Foster. You know, okay.
That motion was to completely ban it without any more. That's what we're going to propose. That's what we're going to propose to move forward to the town council. Eesh. Maybe Joanna, you might be the judge in that case. Hopefully.
Well, family court probably wouldn't hear that.
No.
Depending on how big the family is.
Joanna.
What?
Okay.
Do family
Okay.
court,
Depending on the
not an
family.
easy job.
Can,
No.
I really, honestly, I think we've had enough.
Let me just get, it's not gonna be long at all. I'll give a quick update in the comprehensive plan, just because I haven't officially given the planning board an update. I know I've talked to some of you. We engaged the services of Mason and Associates. We previously had a contract with them to develop the comprehensive plan. That contract was not seen through to the end. They were paid for all their work and the work that they did, which was to come up with the plan, which they did, and that was ultimately submitted to the state. It was sent back to us, but I just basically renewed that contract with them to help us to respond to the state comments to get this thing approved. So we're in contract with them. I'm working with Chris Mason, the principal planner over there. I'm working on developing the maps that are required and a couple other comments. Chris has the bigger duties of updating all the data because that was one of the biggest things that needed to change, as well as reorganization of goals and policies going forward. So we should have something to the board for discussion, maybe late May, I'm hoping, and then we can move it to the council after that. And then hopefully July, maybe, hopefully August, we'll have an approved comprehensive plan.
Good.
Anthony,
Yes.
I'd like to make a recommendation based on common sense. Can we please refrain from developing agendas that are not even
Doable?
potentially, okay, but they don't have the potential to be accomplished within the time period that we have. We have a planning board meeting. I think 2 hours is more than enough for a planning board meeting. Could we please zero in on items for the agenda that are ready for motion, second, and discussion, so that we can act on important issues and make significant progress for each meeting, as opposed to endless discussion about myriads of issues. I looked at the agenda tonight, and I would have to allocate somewhere between 6 to 8 hours just to put up a framework for discussion, let alone solicit motions, seconds, and votes. If
We had two touchy subjects on here tonight, Mike. You are absolutely right.
Yeah, it's over the top, Anthony. If we did this on a business meeting, you'd never make any money because you'd never get out of the damn office.
You're absolutely right. I'm the guy that wants to do it once a month. Okay, but you had two touchy situations.
Could Anthony and Mike please get together and review the agenda and put it in a realistic time frame so that we can make motions, second them, have discussions and act on them and move on day to day as opposed to carrying this stuff forward. Endless discussions serve no purpose.
And that, you got my word on that. I will take care of that, but I'll tell you what, not right now. First
That's
thing,
why we had 2 meetings a month. One was a business meeting and one was a discussion meeting. So it's almost impossible to do what you're doing once a month.
the first thing on the thing that I thought was going to be a slam dunk went into a lot of conversation with the zoning change on Route 6. Okay, I looked at that on the agenda. I thought that was going to be okay, good, we're going to be done, and that went on more than a whole lot more than I thought it would go on, Mike. I knew this was going to go on longer, and I think if this was an open meeting in the town, at town, I think more people would have showed up, or they don't even pay attention anymore. But I mean, I don't know, but we'll do that. Can I have a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn, please? Oh, we don't need a motion, Helen. You tell me that all the time. You get
We
so-
need a motion. We don't need a second.
Make a motion
Make
to
a motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Yeah, Hillary beat me to it.
Sorry, Warren.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone.
Roll call.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Hillary,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Anthony,
Nope, I'm staying. Not leaving.
and me too.
Me too. You're staying too, Helen?
No,
Oh.
I'm voting aye. Okay, that
All right.
passes 5-1. Good night, everybody.
Night.
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 Everyone.